If I've ever had a point in my life where I've been like, do I have Tourette's and doubted myself, it all went away today because I 100% know after today, I can't control my movements. I can't stay still. I have Tourette's. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Ticking Together. As always, the goal of this channel is to provide education about and to raise awareness as to what it's like living with Tourette Syndrome. Brief disclaimer before we start this video. I am sick in some random way, not sure yet. We're getting a lot of testing done, but that is why I look horrible. So I apologize for the lack of color in my face and I'm pale, okay? I'm pale and I feel kind of grody. But I wanted to come on today to talk about medical imaging and Tourette syndrome. What I mean by medical imaging is like x-rays, MRIs, CT scans, whatever kind of scan where you have to be still. Because people with Tourette syndrome struggle with involuntary movements and sounds that we can't control. And so being still is hard for us. So being told to be still for extended periods is very difficult. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Carly. I'm 24 and I have Tourette syndrome. I was diagnosed when I was 12 and I've had a bunch of motor and vocal tics ever since then. They've progressed, they've waxed and waned. It's just how Tourette's works. It's kind of like a cycle. And my tics, I never outgrew them, so I will have them forever. I am on 3 medications a day for my Tourette specifically, 2 of which I got rice, 2 of which are antipsychotics. It's a struggle. Honestly, there's a lot of side effects and a lot of issues with that, but that's not the point of this video. I wanted to talk about my experience today with a VQ lung scan. So I believe a VQ lung scan is similar to a CT scan and MRI-ish thing, but it is directly for your lungs to see if you have blood clots on your lungs, or if your veins in your lungs are okay, the arteries, all that kind of stuff. And so how it works is they put a mouthpiece in your mouth where you breathe in radioactive gas. It goes into your lungs, and then you lie on a stretcher while they put you in this machine, and the machine rotates around you a full circle, but the full circle takes 15 minutes to rotate around you. I got rice. And the lady today was so nice. She told me, hey, like, this is what we're doing. You do have to be still for the whole 15 minutes. And my arms had to be above my head with my shoulders, like everything was just above my head, and I had to lie perfectly still for 15 minutes. And I told her, I was like, hey, like, just so you know, I have Tourette syndrome and I really struggle with staying still. And she said, just try your best, just try your best. And I was like, okay, I'll try my best, but I always try my absolute best. So suppression is hard, but I tried my best. I breathed in the radioactive gas and I lay on that stretcher. They put me in the machine that started rotating while my hands were above my head, and I was okay for the first, I'd say, 5 minutes. I was doing deep breathing, I was suppressing, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna let myself tic because I want to get the imaging done on the first try. I don't want to have to do it again. So I stayed still. Now, about 7 minutes in is when the panic set in, and I literally felt like I was gonna have a panic attack because I was staying still. And I am a person that never stays still because of my Tourette's. I'm always moving in some way, shape, or form. And so I started having shortness of breath, and I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So I started wiggling my fingers and my toes because I didn't think that would really affect my lung imaging. And I had a really itchy spot on my head, but it wasn't an itch, it was like a tick itch where I knew I had to like punch my head. So I couldn't do that, but I kind of like moved my hand down and just did a little like, and it didn't satisfy it at all, but I was trying really hard to stay still. If I've ever had a point in my life where I've been like, do I have Tourette's and doubted myself, it all went away today because I 100% know after today, I can't control my movements. I can't stay still. I have Tourette's. And so there was about 5 minutes left, and I literally was like, like I was freaking out because I had to move. I felt like I was gonna cry. Like honestly, I was getting hysterical inside, even though I was staying still. My body felt like it was on fire. I was burning, I was itching, I was tingling. It felt like electricity. I literally didn't think I could make it the last 5 minutes of the exam because I was just in so much discomfort. Like normally, I feel like for normal people, they can lie still and be fine, but for people with Tourette syndrome, it's a whole different story because we are always moving. And so being told to be still, I was like literally on the verge of breaking down, crying. I wanted to scream. Like I was in so much pain and I just couldn't move. And there was 5 minutes left, and I remember just counting down like, please, please, please let me move. I started to clench my butt cheeks. I started to clench my stomach, and I was like, please God, let the scan go through. I don't want to do 15 more minutes of this. And it was brutal. It was brutal. I've had MRIs before where I have to stay still, and they've also been really brutal, but it's more just been on my legs, so my whole body's not in a machine. But today my whole body was in a machine. And like claustrophobia is a thing. I don't super deal with it, but when I can't move because I'm constricted, I need to tick, and that was hard. But I remember she was counting down. She's like, a minute left, you're almost there, you're almost there. And she was kind of encouraging me through it because she could clearly see I was panicked. And so it finally was done. She took the machine away from me, she pulled me out, and I started ticking like crazy. And I was like, I'm sorry. My neck was ticking, my stomach was ticking, I was punching myself. It was embarrassing, but I had obviously pre-warned her that I had Tourette syndrome, and I was just like, you know what, I have to tick. But I don't think this is something people realize that don't have Tourette syndrome or a tic disorder. I think it's something a lot of people take for granted. I know people don't like staying still, but like when you physically are in pain because you can't, it's stressful. And then it was part 2 of the procedure where she injected some radioactive dye into my arm vein. It went into my lungs, and I had to lie there again for 10 minutes. And I had just almost had a panic attack. I was freaking out. And I was like, how am I going to do 10 more minutes? But she said, let all your movements now, let all your tics now, because we're going to have to do 10 more minutes. Your first scan looked okay, so we don't have to redo that one. So I was like, thank you, Lord. Like, oh my gosh. But it was just a struggle to stay still. And in my mind, I was thinking, to those people who fake having Tourette syndrome, like, this is the stuff you don't understand, is literally you can't turn off Tourette's. You can't flick a switch and not have tics. Like, in your worst moments, in the moments where you have to be extremely still, it's not something you can just turn off. It's not a convenience thing. You can't decide one moment, oh, I'm not gonna have tics. Like, that's not how it works. And so being in a medical imaging device with tics is something that I feel like is so stressful. And if you've ever experienced that, I feel for you. I would love to hear about your stories in the comments if you've ever experienced this, because I know I can't be alone in this. It's so stressful having to go into a machine where you know you can't tick. X-rays aren't that bad. I had a chest x-ray yesterday and I was only a few seconds, so that was fine. But 15 minutes without ticking felt like I was gonna die. And I know that sounds like extreme and an exaggeration, but I genuinely felt horrible. Like, the panic sensation I was having is something indescribable. It was the same level of when I had a panic attack with my anxiety disorders. It's the same level as just being that, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to die. Like, there is no other thing, like, I'm gonna die, because I just had to tick and I couldn't. And MRIs are the same thing. I've had MRIs on my knees before, because side note, I've wrecked my knees, but my leg tics, that's something too where I'm like, I have to stay still for an MRI. And you know, I don't think people realize the struggles. So yeah, she put the IV in my arm, and usually I don't have trouble with needles with my tics. I mean, with needles in general, I'm so faint around them, I hate them. But regarding tics, I don't usually stretch my arm with needles, but she did put the needle in today and I had an arm tic. And it didn't really do anything. It wasn't like a bad thing, but I was like, ooh, that's a first, you know. I always worry about doing arm tics when I'm getting injections or getting needles, because I don't want that to like hurt more. But medical procedures with Tourette syndrome and tic disorders are really challenging. the ones where you have to stay still, it's like, these aren't designed for people with Tourette's. Like, I really struggled, and only now am I realizing, like, Tourette's affects every single part of my life. Like, the more I think about it, sure, I do have a lot of subtle tics, but even those subtle tics involve moving, and so I'm always moving. So when you're told to be still, it's literally like you're being told you can't breathe. It's horrible. So just know that people with Tourette syndrome, I got rice, can struggle with different medical imaging things. It's normal, but if you do have Tourette syndrome, you can get through it. Just breathe and tell yourself it's going to be okay. That's what I was doing, but I really struggled. And again, if you've experienced this, I would love to hear your stories in the comments. If you have tics or any other medical imaging story, I would love to hear your stories and relate, because I feel really alone. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. I would love that. Please leave a comment down below saying hi, telling me what you'd like to see in future videos, or letting me know again if you've ever had medical imaging done, like an MRI, a VQ lung scan, a CT scan, whatever the case. Let me know how your experience has been, especially if you have tics, because for me it was literally like I was dying. And if you'd like to stay tuned to educational content about Tourette syndrome, please subscribe to my channel and ring this notification bell to stay tuned to all of my content. Again, I post about Tourette syndrome awareness and stuff about my life stories of living with Tourette's for over 10 years. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I eventually feel better. Again, I have to go through a lot more tests to see what's wrong, but not looking forward to it. As always, we are learning together, we're laughing together, and we're ticking together. Bye.